Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the charts behind me, which are 13 that seem like they are hitting or near hitting a bottom. And so to start, I'm going to go over them in alphabetical order. They should be listed on the thumbnail, so you should be able to navigate them easily. But yeah, I'm going to first start with ChargePoint, ticker symbol CHPT. And it looks like the past couple days, January 3rd and 4th, the lows for both of those days was $2.03. I had this line drawn here at $1.95, thinking price might go down to that level because it had previously bounced on that level on, let's see, November 17th. But I do think that, it might hover above $2 with the idea that retail is probably waiting to pick up a lot of shares at $2, but it may not get to that level before continuing higher. Also, you can see this volume shelf here right around the current price or just below it. So I do think it is at support, and I do think it could bounce during the month of January. And then moving on to Chewy, ticker symbol CHWY. This one I would say is probably the weakest looking one of the 13, but it does look like it might be near support. I do have this line below it at $20, just being a psychological level, but just kind of noticing this pattern with all of these stocks. It does look like the downfall is cooling off a little bit. There's this level marked by the orange line at $21.13. Had previously served as resistance. If we can close above that level, it might start to serve as support. Also, there are gaps to the upside, with the closest one recently being formed, and that would be going up to a price of right around $22.14. Okay, and so moving to the next one, FuelCell Energy, ticker symbol FCEL. Again, this one doesn't look as strong as some of the others, but it does look like it could be forming a bottom soon, right around $1.43. I do have that line marked based on previous highs, so it had served as resistance. It may serve as support moving forward, and with a target moving to the upside, maybe going back to $1.80, something like that. Next on the list is GameStop, ticker symbol GME. And so I've been following this one, and I've actually been pretty bullish on it. It has been moving up over the past month and consolidating and then moving up to the next leg. I did identify this, looks like a bull flag in the RSI that unfortunately we had a fake out and it broke to the downside. But I do think that $16, given that it's a round number, I do think that is a psychological level, and it did bounce going to a low of $15.90 on January 3rd. So I do think it will be interesting to see if this can hold up right above $16. I do think it could move back to 18, if not higher. Next on the list, Luminar Technologies, ticker symbol LAZR. This is actually one of the stocks that really stood out to me as potentially forming a bottom. I had this blue line, all of the blue lines on these charts mark gaps that need to be filled. And so that is at $2.87. But if you notice today, the low is $2.89, so almost filling that gap. But if we do switch to the 4-hour time frame, we can see that during the pre-market today, there was a low of $2.85. So considering pre-market trading, that gap was filled. And and it does look like this is starting to turn around. And I do have also $3 marked in red there, just being a psychological level. And I do think that this has a lot of upside potential going to $4 a share, if not higher. But first, I guess we'd have to break above these highs, recent highs right around $3.69. Okay, next on the list, Matterport, ticker symbol MTTR. This one does look like it is bouncing right around $2.36. Actually, before even thinking about these stocks finding bottoms, I had drawn these two horizontal lines, the red dashed and the orange, horizontal lines, thinking that price would be trading within them, as it has been more or less. So I do think that we could be seeing a bounce, potentially going back up to $2.74, also with a couple gaps, one on the way being at $2.56 and another being just past $2.74 at $2.82. However, there is this volume shelf that it would have to break through, so maybe it would stop right around there. Another one, the next one, NIO, ticker symbol NIO. I had previously gone over how this looks like it's trading in this downtrending channel, actually looking pretty strong moving into 2024. And this one also does look like it might be turning around, and there has been, let's see, some support and resistance right around the $8 or $8.11 level. And there are a couple gaps to the upside, one that was recently formed at $8.95. I believe that's a 1 cent gap. And then there's also a more notable gap going up to $10.22. But again, there is this volume shelf here. Might be a little tricky to get above, but I do think this one could be turning around. Palantir, this one, as you can see, I've done a lot of analysis on this, and I just went over how it has re-entered this gap that in order to fill it, price would need to go down to $14.96, or right around $15. But I did have this red line, dashed line, I believe it was previously yellow, marked at $16, as that has in the past. It looked like it served as some resistance, some support as well. So it does seem like a significant level, as well as being a psychological round number. But it does look like it is meeting not only $16, but this white downtrending line that has acted as pretty notable support, resistance in the past. So that might be acting as support now. And so what I could see, if you look at the chart, basically what happened is following this gap up at the beginning of November, we saw this big rise up, but then by the time we get to the beginning of December, we're back at this orange line. Now, moving through December, at the end of December, back at that orange line with this little bounce. So what I could see happening is over the course of January, there being a bounce from this level at $16, attempting to test 17 again, or what I have marked in the orange line, $17.21, on the way filling this gap at 17.10, but then ultimately being rejected. You can see all of this consolidation, this volume shelf here. That's going to be tough resistance to break above. So I could see, not only with Palantir, but basically with all of these stocks that I'm going over, there could be bounces over the course of January, but then possibly returning to the levels that they're currently at, just like how Palantir has done. It might be happening again, but only getting up to around $17.21, right around there. Next one on the list, PayPal, ticker symbol PYPL. This one looks like I have this dashed line drawn at $57.29 based on the low of August 18th, 2023. And so, yeah, we'll have to see if this upward move continues, so we'll have to see that. Red on the day, but going up during market hours. So if that continues tomorrow, it might be that we're finding this bottom and that it could be moving back up to test this orange downtrend that has served as resistance, as well as this yellow one that seemed to kind of converge up here. And that could potentially be breaking out of this downtrending wedge that I have drawn here. I'm actually going to switch that color so you can see it a little better. That down trending wedge, or I should say falling wedge. So this stock might be moving up to test and break out of that. However, it could also go down to these gaps to the downside at 54.72 and 52.20. So we'll have to see, but I do think it could be bouncing up to this orange trend line, possibly being rejected, and then moving down to fill these gaps before ultimately breaking out of the wedge. And then potentially moving up to fill this gap at $72.50. The next one on the list, Rivian Automotive, ticker symbol RIVN. As you can see, I've done a lot of analysis on this one, but I tried to gray it out so it's not too complicated. And basically, there were these two gaps formed. I had thought this would break to the upside because this channel was downtrending. But at the start of the year, a lot of sell-offs, and we can see price did come down, did break back into what had previously served as resistance. I thought it might serve as support. Hopefully it can break back above that white downtrending line, start to fill the gaps at $20.76 and $23.10. But it is possible this white downtrending line will serve as resistance, but we will have to see. There is this, looks like this gap in the volume profile, probably corresponding with this gap. So there is potential for it to move up to, like I said, 2310, where we start to see the volume profile picking up, this volume shelf here based on the consolidation that occurred over in this area. Next on the list, SoFi Technologies, ticker symbol SOFI, which actually I found has a lot of similarities with Rivian. It's just the only difference with Rivian, this was a downtrending channel, whereas with SoFi, it was uptrending. So I did expect SoFi to break to the downside, creating this gap that needs to be filled now, going up to a price of $9.52. It does look like it might be turning around, and we do see this, all of this volume, this consolidation over here, and the volume profile sticking out. And so I do have this red dashed line drawn at $8.14, so just below current price, really corresponding to all of this consolidation over here. So I do think we could be getting a bounce back up to like 950, where we see this volume shelf and the gap to be filled to the upside. So that could be happening over the course of January. Next on the list is, and I actually don't think you can see them now, so I'm going to move Ed, is Square, or Block, I should say, ticker symbol SQ. And this one looks like it has come back to what has served as prior resistance, now going to be potentially serving as support. We do have this volume shelf sticking out here, so price is kind of right in the middle of that. Hopefully it can hold, and there are two gaps to the upside, one to be filled at $71.46, the next one at $76.86. So hopefully we can see some consolidation before a bounce to fill these gaps, but then we might see some downside after that, so good to keep that in mind. And then finally on the list is STEM Incorporated, ticker symbol STEM. And this one also looks like it's bouncing, and I have this line drawn at $3.35, the red dashed line, based on the high of November 15th. There was recently a gap formed that needs to be filled to the upside. Filling that would be going to a price of $3.71. So I could see that happening over the course of the month of January, if not getting higher, maybe moving up to this volume shelf here, right around $4, psychological level. That makes sense. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you like it, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching.